Dear students, last class we started water resources and we completed need of irrigation and importance of irrigation. Now let us study the means of irrigation. Different sources of irrigation are used in India depending upon the topography, soils, rainfall, availability of surface water or groundwater, nature of rivers, requirement of crops, etc. So the main source of irrigation used in different parts of the country are wells, tube wells, canals and tanks. Okay. So this method irrigation practiced in India can be divided into two categories: primitive methods and modern methods. Primitive methods and modern methods. Now we are going to study the primitive methods. Primitive methods means it include wells, tanks and inundation canal, and that also they can be used only small area, and they don't need that much modern machinery to build up or to operate also. Okay. Now the first primitive method, wells. We know already a well is a hole dug in the ground to obtain the subsoil water. What is a well? A well is a hole dug in the ground to obtain the subsoil water. Irrigation by wells has been the age-old method of supplying water for domestic purposes, agriculture and drinking. Nearly 40% of irrigated area in India is under well irrigation. Now see, what are the conditions necessary for well irrigation? Okay, first of all, water table should be high. Secondly, for lifting the water, cheap power should be available. Thirdly, the area must be in alluvial formation. Then fourth one, there should be sufficient quantity of groundwater. So digging a well, certain necessary conditions are needed. So what are the necessary conditions? First one, the water table should be high. For lifting the water, cheap power should be available. The area must be in alluvial formation. There should be sufficient quantity of groundwater. Okay. So being an agriculture country, India, well irrigation is one of the most early accessible irrigation system among the farmers. It is very cheap to construct and to maintain. Hence, can be undertaken by the individuals. And also wells can be divided two types of wells. Two types of wells, that is surface wells and tube wells. Okay, wells are divided into two: surface wells and tube wells. Surface wells itself divided into two: unlined and lined wells. Again, surface wells divided into two: unlined wells and lined well. What is this unlined well? Unlined wells are also known as kacha wells. Okay, unlined wells are also called kacha wells. Such wells are normally constructed where the water table is high. Usually, this kind of wells constructed where the water table is high, and also they are not lined by bricks or cement. That's why it is called unlined well. They are not lined by bricks or cement. These are cheaper to dig and are essentially used for irrigation. Very cheap, and irrigation purpose it is very useful. Next, lined wells. Lined wells are also called pakka wells. Okay, lined wells are also called pakka wells and are used with lined with cement or brick, and are mostly covered and safe for supplying drinking water as well as for supplying water for domestic purpose and irrigating the farms. Okay, so these lined wells are also called pakka wells, and these are called lined well because these are lined with cement or brick and are mostly covered and safe for supplying drinking water as well as for supplying water for domestic purpose and irrigating the farms. Okay, so this kind of wells are perennial in nature. Perennial in nature means water throughout the year water will be there at all. Perennial in nature and dug in the area where the water table is high and the ground is ground also soft rock, so it is easy to dig. Soft rock area where the water table is high, that area only will be selecting for digging this kind of wells. This cover prevent the loss of water and it is more expensive to dig also. Okay. Now, what are the advantages of well irrigation? Advantages of well irrigation. First of all, they are very simplest and the cheapest source of irrigation. Okay. First point, very simplest and cheapest source of irrigation. Secondly, they can be at any convenient place. According to the convenient of farmers, they can dug at any place. Well can be dug at any convenient place. Thirdly, they are indispensable source of irrigation. So, can be used when the necessity arises. These wells are independent. That means independent source of irrigation. So, because of that can be used as and when the necessity arises at all. Okay. These are the advantages. Okay. Remember the point. Very simplest and cheapest source of irrigation can be dug according to the convenience of farmers. Thirdly, it is indispensable source of irrigation and can be used when the necessity arises. Now, next the drawbacks of well water. Disadvantage or drawbacks of wells. The main disadvantage of wells is that the surface wells are not deep enough. So, they may get dried up during summer. Is not deep enough and may run dry. Secondly, they can irrigate only a small area. Thirdly, sometimes they are salty in nature. So, it may not be suitable for drinking or irrigation purpose. High percentage of minerals will be contained the water. Water contains high percentage of minerals, so which make the water unsuitable for irrigation at all. So these are the disadvantage or drawbacks. Okay, this land water only limited amount of land. This can irrigate only limited amount of land. That means not a large area. They can irrigate only small area. These are the drawbacks. Okay, listen again. The main disadvantage of wells is that surface wells are not deep enough. So they may get dried up during summer. Secondly, they can irrigate only small area. Thirdly, sometimes due to the high percentage of minerals and the water is in salty nature, so it may not be suitable for drinking or irrigation at all. Okay, then only limited area only it can be irrigated. Okay, now next, which are the areas mainly chief areas of well irrigation prevalent in northern plains. Mainly, well irrigation is popular in northern plains. It is most popular in state of UP, Haryana, Punjab and Bihar. They are also found in West Bengal, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Tamil Nadu. Why this northern plains is popular in well irrigation? First of all, northern plains water table is high because Ganga and Indo-Gangetic plain area. So always the amount of rainfall is very high level. Because of that reason, water table is high in Gangetic plain. Secondly, easy to dig due to the soft alluvial soil. That whole Indo-Gangetic area is covered with the soft alluvial soil. That's why it is easy to dig out the well. Then thirdly, adequate rainfall, constantly replenish groundwater. Continuously that area will be experiencing heavy rainfall. So because of that, underground will be replenished with the water. Then cheap hydroelectric power availability also is the cheap hydroelectric power also available. So because of all this reason, well irrigation is common in North India. Okay, remember that point. It is one of the important questions. Why well irrigation is common in North India? Okay. First point, water table is high in Ganga plain. Secondly, wells are easier to dig due to the soft alluvial soil. Thirdly, adequate rainfall constantly replenish the groundwater. And last point, cheap hydroelectricity is available in that area. Okay. Now, next point, tube wells. Tube wells means what? A tube well is it is also called bore well. Tube well, it is also called bore well, which is dug deep in the ground with the help of a drilling machine. Okay. A tube well is a bore well which is dug deep into the ground, with the help of a drilling machine. So water is pumped out manually as well as with the help of electricity. It is a common thing. We can find many times we are seeing everywhere that bore well at all. No, manually pumping bore wells are there common in our place at all. For the construction of these tube wells, sufficient groundwater supply and cheap electric power are essential. Okay, for the construction of this tube well, sufficient groundwater supply and cheap electric power. These two are very essential at all. Okay. Now, what are the conditions essential for construction of tube wells? Okay. What are the essential conditions for constructing the tube well? Tube wells cannot construct everywhere and require some geographical conditions also. As we like, according to our convenience, we cannot construct everywhere these tube wells. It needs certain geographic conditions for favoring its installation. So what are the main factors? First of all, sufficient water quantity. Groundwater quantity should be sufficient. Uh, Secondly, the water level should be nearly 15 meters. Water level should be nearly 15 meters. Thirdly, there should be regular supply of cheap electricity or diesel. Regular supply of cheap electricity or diesel. Then the soil also fertile land or alluvial soil area only it easily to construct at all. Okay, these are the conditions essential for constructing a tube well. First of all, water table should be high with perennial water supply. Perennial water supply means what? Perennial rivers means throughout the year water is there, means that kind of rivers only we call what perennial rivers. All the Himalayan rivers are perennial rivers because of the snow melting and water will be there at top. Then the ground should be soft and with the covered with alluvial soil. Then it is easy to dig as deep as required at all. The area must be get adequate rainfall. So as to replenish groundwater. Adequate rainfall getting area means as replenish the groundwater. Cheap hydroelectricity power is available as to draw the water through the tube well with the help of a pump. Then climate also should not be extreme climate. That means too hot or too cold. Then the water level would be affected and the cost of construction also become high. Too cold or too hot means water level it will be affecting and accordingly the cost of construction also become high. Okay. Now what are the advantages of tube wells? First of all, tube wells are very useful during drought condition. First thing, very useful during drought condition. They can irrigate large area. They are a reliable source of irrigation. They can irrigate the field throughout the year. They have played a major role in green revolution also. With the help of tube wells, some crops which need more irrigation or rainfall can be grown. Low rainfall area also. More irrigation needed crops and all, they can use tube well and irrigate. That way they can cultivate more crops. Wherever the less amount of rainfall getting area also with the help of tube wells, they can irrigate and cultivate more crops. Example, rice cultivation in Punjab is successful because of the tube well. Okay. Now the advantages of tube wells. Okay, the first advantage, these tube wells are very useful during drought condition when the surface wells dry up. Secondly, they can irrigate larger area compared to surface wells. They occupy less area compared to surface wells. They do not cause any pollution also, not create any pollution. Large area it can irrigate. They are a reliable source of irrigation. They can irrigate the field throughout the year. They have played a major role in the green revolution. Apart from that, with the help of these tube wells, some crops which used more irrigation or more rainfall water can grow in low rainfall area also. With the help of these tube wells, farmers can cultivate the crop. For example, Punjab, rice cultivation in Punjab is successful because of tube wells. Okay. Now, disadvantages of tube wells. Disadvantage of tube wells. They need cheap power which is not available in most of the state. First thing, these tube wells need cheap power. but that is not available in many states. Secondly, cost of groundwater extraction is very high. Sometimes farmers find difficult to afford it. To pay it also, it is very difficult data. Okay, cost of groundwater extraction is very difficult. Extraction is very huge, very high. So sometimes farmers has to pay for it. Then tubers provide assured irrigation, which has changed the cropping pattern of many regions. So it giving a promise for the irrigation, and also because of that it can change the cropping pattern of many regions. But at the same time, our use of this groundwater has lowered the water table in many states. So because of continuously using these tube wells, many areas, what will be happening? Water table become low level. Okay, so again, once again, listen the disadvantages of tube wells. It can irrigate larger than ordinary well, but at the same time, irrigate only limited area. Farmers has to spend money regularly on electricity or diesel, and source of irrigation is not at all fit for areas of brackish groundwater. Salty area and all is not suitable. Continuously it will take the groundwater. That light water groundwater table level will be decreasing at all, and sometime the extraction of this groundwater cost is very high, so farmers find very difficult to pay it also. They need cheap power, which is not available in many of the state. Okay, these are the disadvantage. Okay, this much only for today. Thank you.